few weeks ago I asked if I could speak. Before I do, maybe 400 people here. But you know, my mind was just racing, and I thought that maybe the only way to quiet it would be to write something, and that proved to be pretty hard, as Uncle Irv said. So we're standing up here, and it feels like we're saying goodbye in some way, and I tried. Let's see. For maybe the first time in my life, I feel like I can see time in a circle. Time is supposed to be linear, moving from A to B to C and so on, never looking back. But the past few weeks felt different. It felt as if I were reliving every single moment with Uncle Irv, from the first years of my life to the last days of his, all at once. First, I was 20 years old, sitting in the private room of a steakhouse with our family on Mother's Day. Uncle Irv connected to the speakers, and he and I were going track for track. I wanted to impress the notorious DJ Irv, so I started cueing old stuff, James Brown, Donny Hathaway, Etta James. I thought he'd put on some of his own classic songs, but instead he played Use Somebody by Kings of Leon and Ordinary Day by Vanessa Carlton, and belted both of them out as if we were on stage at MSG. Then I was 13 in the basement at his house in New Jersey, trying to keep my cool as he screamed at me from across the ping pong table. We were matched up in the family tournament for a second year in a row. I was better than him, but he had a fighting chance in any game he played purely by virtue of his God-given talent for talking S-H-I-T. Then I was 16 in Atlanta on the set of his TV show, watching him direct his actors with the confidence of a veteran filmmaker, thinking that if he could do it, maybe I could too. Then I was younger again, 10 or 11, in the front seat of his Rolls Royce. He was driving me back to the city after a weekend in Jersey. On the road, he started telling me war stories from the height of the Murder Inc. days. After a brief pause in the story, he turned to me and said, "Your uncle's a bit of a gangster." 100 more of these replayed in my head. Maybe of his many superpowers, that was his greatest. That he was so loud, so passionate, so incendiary, so alive, that he gave us all the gift of time travel. I'm sure every one of us can recall the times we spent with him almost perfectly. The things he said, the clothes he wore many days on end, the laughs he gave us, the magic he made. The memories are so vivid they feel like they're still happening. We need only think back and we can be with him again. I'm thankful for that. I came across a quote recently from one of Uncle Irv's contemporaries in the music business, Rick Rubin, that read, "Art isn't in the tools, materials, equipment you use, it's in the way you see the world." Uncle Irv was an artist. He left a legacy in music that will outlast us all, but he showed me the artistry in the little things too. If you ever got to hear him tell a story, you felt you were watching an artist at work. Nothing existed outside the room you were in. He could command your attention like no one else. He had that burning desire to share what was in his head and heart with the world, and a work ethic to match it. As I got older, I started to see that version of him a little clearer, Uncle Irv the artist, but first I knew him as Uncle Irv the family man. He often said that nothing was more important to him than family, and he was true to his word. I saw him almost every weekend growing up. I used to take that for granted, but as I've gotten older and found myself busier and busier, I've come to understand that as the act of love it really was. He was at the height of his fame. He could have been anywhere in the world, but he chose to be home, flipping burgers, making sure his children, nieces, and nephews truly knew him. I'm thankful for that. Each time we gathered as a family, we'd take the same sets of pictures. You'd see a lot of them. Everyone with Nene and Poppy, the individual nuclear families, just the 15 grandkids, just the original 8 kids, so on. When I was younger, this felt like a chore. As I got older, I started to realize why we had to do that every time. It was proof of life. We're still here. Nene and Poppy raised 8 kids on a taxi driver's salary in the 1960s. 15 grandkids, several decades later, we're still here. Now we have enough photos to fill a small library. The day Uncle Irv passed, I scrolled through my mom's photo archives for 5 or 6 hours. I wanted to find every last photo of me and him. There were plenty of good ones, but I kept wishing there were more. And then I came across a photo of Nene and my paternal grandmother laughing and embracing at Nene's 80th birthday party. And looking at that one, I realized that Uncle Irv's fingerprint was on every single one of those pictures, even the ones he wasn't in. Because none of those things we look back on so fondly would have happened without him. I'm thankful for that too. My mom worked for Uncle Irv for more than 20 years. A couple nights ago I asked her if she'd written anything, and she shared a few things with me. I want to share just a sentence of what she wrote, which is a little similar to what Auntie Angie said. We all knew you were special, Irv, from the moment Mom brought you home from the hospital and let us all hold our new baby brother.
Hello, my beloved HMTV viewers. I'm glad that you are watching, and if you're new here, please subscribe. So following the death of our beloved Irv Gotti, the U.S. music producer who created hits for Ja Rule, Ashanti, DMX, and Jennifer Lopez, who died at the age of 54 years. He best known as the founder of the record label Murder Inc., his signature style of blending hip-hop beats with smooth R&B melodies shaped the sound of the charts in the late 90s and early 2000s. As a writer and producer, his multi-platinum hits included the J-Lo and Ja Rule duets, Ain't It Funny and I'm Real, the Ashanti tracks Foolish and Always on Time, and Fat Joe's What's Love. People get confused because it sells like pop music, he told The Guardian in 2002. But we make black music first and foremost, and all our records is hood first. Not to forget, the music mogul had battled diabetes-related issues and suffered what was described as a minor stroke in early 2024. At the time he died, Gotti's representatives said he had changed his diet and had been successful in making a full recovery. So news regarding the funeral service: Irv Gotti is laid to rest in a private funeral service in his hometown of New York, attended by close friends and family. Gotti's family initially had planned a large public service on Tuesday, February 18th at Greater Allen AME Cathedral in Jamaica, Queens. However, they later decided to keep the gathering intimate. Please be advised that the funeral services for Irv Gotti Lorenzo will not take place on Tuesday, February 18th, an announcement on his Instagram page read. Instead, there will be a private service for family and close friends on Wednesday. Following the private service, a public procession will have occurred. Further details regarding the procession will be provided soon. So as seen in the video, his nephew gave out an emotional speech at funeral service, trying to remember the good times he had with the deceased.